My mum's a drug dealer. That was life. My sister got molested by my mum's boyfriend. That was life. So what's there to be happy about? There was nothing there for me. That's real. Gold teeth and tattoos don't mean nothing to me. It was a sign of who I become. But then I was 20 years old. I was in probation. And I met this guy from Tottenham. You know, he says to me, let's go to church. You know, I said, this guy's crazy, man. He don't know who I am. This guy's not from the ends. He don't know who I am about let's go to church. I still thought I was a Muslim, to be honest. But then guess what? I went to church with this guy in Ilford. Never really knew Ilford. I went to Ilford. I got my own flat in Ilford. I had a car. I was in university. This guy took me to Ilford. I went into City Gates. I sat down under the word of God. This white man's preaching at the front from Yorkshire. I don't know who he is. He's just an old man to me. These guys are jumping around praying in tongues. I think they're crazy. And then guess what happened? The Holy Spirit, I didn't know at the time, stirred my heart. And then I got scared. I got anxious. And I responded to the gospel as an emotional response. I gave my life 2009. Become born again. You know why? Because it says, he was talking, I didn't hear nothing other than these words. In life, there's negative and positive. And for the first time, I realized all I knew was negative. And I cried, I wept. And it was weak to cry, but I cried. And I couldn't control it. And this guy sitting next to me. And he's like, oh, come on. And I went and gave my life. I was born again. I went home. I can't use the words my mum used. There was a lot of beats and swear words going on. You're a Christian, you're what? Get out. This and that. So that was again rejection. I went back to the church. This ain't going to work for me, Pastor. And he laid his hand on my shoulder and said, there's hope here for you. So I received and embraced the hope that's in Christ. So now we're moving on to the most important part now. Now is the process of changing who I was to who I am. How do you then challenge, how do you change this fog into a godly man? I'm still trying to talk to the girls in the church. I'm threatening to punch people in the church because they're talking about me. That don't work in church. So then I met Teen Challenge. But before I went into Teen Challenge, I almost got shot by my own friends. They threatened to shoot me. So then I become worried. Then I decided in my mind I either go back or I go to Christ. And then I went into Teen Challenge, gave up my flat and my car and my job. University, I gave it up. My son, I gave it back to his mum for a bit. And I went into the program. I wasn't a drug addict, but I needed help. I needed discipling because I had the love of Christ, but I couldn't live that life. I couldn't get rid of that whole facade, that whole anger issue. And guess what? I've been in there 14 months now. I boldly say I love Jesus. I boldly confess it. The people that want to people that want to respect my change. And then I know some of them want it. One of my friends just went to prison for 10 years, but I'm still praying for him. God's word ain't changed. So what I do now, I work with young gang members. I've got a job with the youth offending team when I finish my program, so I'm going to become a probation officer now. I've got a relationship with my son again. You understand? I don't say none of this, and I appreciate the claps, but you know we're clapping to God. Jesus Christ changed my life. The Holy Spirit has ministered to me and changed something in my heart. So I stand here today. You know, some people giggle and laugh when I say I'm a Christian. You don't sound like one, you don't look like one. What does it look like to be a Christian? What does it sound like to be a Christian? Don't do church and religion, let's do relationship. That's what I thought
It's incredible because testimonies like that. I've just come back from the European Conference Team Challenge, and for 95 countries in the world, that God is working amongst addicts and gang members, and incredible things. And in Nigeria, I was telling Pastor Thomas, a work has just started with Team Challenge in a city called Jos, in Jos, and apparently there's conflict between the Muslims and the Christians there. But the Muslims some of them are heroin addicts, and they're injecting on the streets, and Team Challenge is reaching out to these Muslims, and the imams are coming and saying, look, you have protection against the Islamic group there. You know, you have protection to continue this work, and it's bringing unity because of this work. So God is working through these people's addictions. It's amazing. Colin, you come and share.
Morning, church. I told you earlier, my name's 3 years old. I've been in Teen Challenge now for nearly 8 months, and it's the best decision I've ever made in my life, completely. It's a wonderful place, and God's really working in there, you know. My upbringing wasn't great, you know. My childhood was a very fearful one, you know. I spent some time in foster care when I was a kid, where I was abused, and that kind of it led me into a life of fear, you know. Fear was born out of that experience, and it ultimately led to alcohol, you know. I got bullied at school and stuff throughout my school years. I was bullied, and throughout my secondary school years I was bullied, you know. I see myself as different from everyone else. I see myself as a nobody, and everybody else was a somebody. And you know, when I was 14, I found alcohol, you know, and it took away that fear. And I started to be the man that I thought I wanted to be, you know, what I did want to be at the time, you know. I started to be aggressive, and I started, you know, I wanted to be like all everyone else. I wanted to be the one bullying everyone. I wanted to be the one with all the girls around me. You know, like Gavin said, everyone saying, you know, you're doing good, but really, you're doing really bad. You know, and so I became the bully, and I got into all sorts of trouble. Started stealing cars, you know, taking girls out in cars, you know. I should be dead right now, you know. By the grace of God, I'll stand before you alive. I've had so many close brushes with death, you know, from my own stupidity, you know, but God has had his hand on my life. So, from the alcoholism, it led to drugs, you know, taking pills and cocaine and all the other, you know, what they call recreational drugs, you know. And at the time it was good, I enjoyed it, you know. They say that there's, you know, there's joy in sin, in the bit to an extent, you know, but it is only for a season, you know. And I ended up in the gutter so many times throughout my life, you know. I've got 3 kids to 3 different women, you know. I love them all, but, you know, it just shows where I was at then, you know. I wasn't married to any of them. And I don't see any of my kids now, you know. And the devil used that. He used that to with guilt in my heart, you know. He made me feel like I was a bad dad, and I was no one, and I deserved to be in the gutter. You know, when I was 27, my mum passed away, and that was hard for me, you know. And I found heroin around about the same time. And heroin took me to levels of depths that I didn't know existed, you know. I had a girlfriend at the time named Sarah, you know, and she was 10 years younger than me, and she looked up to me a lot, you know. We had a kid together, you know, Chelsea. She's 8 now, but she got adopted for everything that was going on. And when my mum died, I started to use heroin and crack, and life just took a turn, you know. I just ended up in new depths, you know. Every time I hit a new level that I didn't know existed, you know, and it was like I could see light for a while, but then the light disappeared, and I was just lost. And Sarah, she got lost with me, you know. We both ended up, you know, on heroin, crack, you know. She never touched alcohol, but I drank a lot still, you know. And inevitably, Chelsea got taken into foster care, you know, and that broke me, completely broke me, you know. But it still wasn't enough to give up the drugs. And to cut a long story short, you know, we got lost so far into the drugs, you know, that it took Sarah's life. Sarah died through drugs, man, when my sister was 6 years old, and that was the hardest thing I had to ever deal with, you know. Is tell Chelsea, you know, she hasn't got a mum and that I can't look after her and she's got to be adopted, you know. But God turns everything around for good, and I see that now, you know. I came to Teen Challenge a completely broken man. I'd lost my home, I'd lost my daughter, I'd lost my girlfriend, and I just thought there was no hope for me, you know, no hope. And I'd been told about God, you know, people had told me about God. So I came to Teen Challenge broken, you know, this was my last chance, you know. And I got there, and Javier, the guy who saw on the telly, you know, he said to me, he said, Colin, he said, who are you? And I was like, well, you know, I'm a broken man, but I think I'm the right guy, you know, I'm a chef by trade, and the real answer that I couldn't bring myself to say is, I don't know. I haven't got a clue who I am. That's what I wanted to say, but I didn't, you know, I didn't say it. You ask me that same question now, you know, I'll tell you that I am the righteousness of God in Christ. Teen Challenge, God is working in that place. He's really working. I gave my life to Christ on the 15th of October last year, and my life has changed every day. God is revealing something new to me, something new every single day, you know. I asked him the question, I said, God, what was all that about? You know, if you're God and you can do all things, why did I have to go through that in my life to find you? Why couldn't I have found you when I was like 10 years old? And he said, Colin, I needed you to learn them lessons, you know. And I have learned so much through what I've been through. He's turned it all around for good, and I know if I keep path straight and I keep my eyes on God, He's going to renew the relationship with my children. Everything that I've been through is going to be turned around for good, you know. He's got a plan and a purpose for my life. And I'm just going to keep my eyes on and keep going, you know. I praise God for Teen Challenge because it takes people like me, you know. If I was out there, if it wasn't for Teen Challenge, I would never come to God because I wouldn't listen to anyone, you know. It takes the intensity of something like Teen Challenge to get you out of that mud and that miry clay that you're in. You know, God needs Teen Challenge to do that because it just helps you, it helps me anyway, to see sense. You know, it's a hard program. Every morning getting up, having to clean dust off your skirting boards and you know, clean your shower, you have to buff it up so you can see your face in it, you know. It's a hard program. To do that for 11 months, you know, it takes God's strength, you know, to do that, you know. And you see hardened criminals in there, you know, supposedly hardened criminals, grown men, fighting over Henry the Hoover, you know. It's crazy. It's like every morning I get up, you know, there's 3 Hoovers downstairs, and I get up and I go to get the Hoover, but I'm running to get the Hoover, because I know John's on the same mountain. we got 3 Hoovers. The only one that works properly, you know, and I'm running around there to get it. If John's there before me, I'm like, oh no, I'm all disheartened and I'm a bit angry inside, you know, over a Hoover. It brings all that stuff out of you, you know. And, you know, little situations like that, we can laugh about it now, but at the time, God's bringing stuff out of you, bringing stuff out of everyone else. And brilliant, I've got peace in my heart, you know, there's no guilt, there's no shame. Praise God, and I thank you for listening to me.
Praise God. So, I didn't know that John was the Hoover holder. But the programme Teen Challenge is very disciplined, as Ollie was saying. It's run on a merit and a demerit basis. So if you have to be on time for everything, and you have to make sure your room's clean, you have to look good, you have to shave every morning. If there's anything wrong, you will get a demerit, which is a white ticket. And then these accumulate, and at the end of the week, they are assessed by the manager, who will look at how many demerits there are, and if there are too many of a certain thing, it highlights an area of your life where maybe there's a problem. And so then there's disciplines which are handed out for the demerits, and also there's pink tickets for you know, for the things that you're doing good. But they're very few and far between, aren't they, guys? The pink tickets, but you know, it's an intensive program, but it's a really, you know, God was, as Colin was eloquently saying, God is working through this with the guys in the program, and it's, you know, the Bible says that iron sharpens iron, and so, you know, there is knocking all the rough edges off. And it's an amazing ministry. The ministry of Teen Challenge is abstinence rehabilitation. So that means when someone comes into the program, you know, the government policy for a heroin addict is to get them replacement medication. So they will get a heroin addict onto methadone, and they will prescribe them methadone to get them off of heroin, you see. And what happens is, once someone goes on to methadone, then they have a methadone problem. And so what happens is they often start drinking on the methadone, because if you combine the two, it gives you a really big high, you see. And so then they develop a drink problem as well. So they end up with a drink problem, a methadone problem, and they'll probably start using heroin again. So they end up with 3 addictions. And it's craziness. So when you come into Teen Challenge, you have to stop everything. You have to stop smoking, everything. And it's all you do is you get prayer and the Bible. And God helps people through this, you know. Some people are delivered miraculously from... We've got one guy who was 30 years a heroin addict. He was in and out of prison. He always had heroin every day of his life. He lived his whole life for 30 years in fear of going through the withdrawals that you saw on that screen there. And he came into Teen Challenge with no withdrawal symptoms. He couldn't believe it. He couldn't believe it, just being in the presence of God. We've had guys come in, withdrawing off heroin, and there's nothing, and they're not withdrawing, and they've decided to leave the program. As soon as they step out in the street, the withdrawal symptoms come back on them, and they have to come back in. And so we've seen this happen, we've seen the miraculous happen in Teen Challenge. Okay, the guys are going to sing to you a final song, and it's called He Reached Down to Me. Please just let the words of this song minister to you, because it really does explain how God can just reach into a seemingly hopeless situation and turn everything back around for good. So we can have that third song. That would be wonderful, Chapel. Hello there, sound engineers. The third song, please.
Reach out to me, the King of heaven, from his throne to my world of pain and misery, to my side when I was all alone. He reached down to me, reaching out for his embrace. I touched the wonder of his love, I found his grace. This is higher ground in his love, a place where I have found there is joy for living. This is higher ground where I can see the splendor of all things prepared for me. Now there's a song and there is music, and my heart it longs to sing. It's a song of sweet salvation, Christ the Lord, my everything. He reached down to me, the King of heaven, from his throne to my world of pain and misery, to my side when I was all alone. He reached down to me, reaching out for his embrace. I touched the wonder of his love, I found his grace. This is higher ground in his love, a place where I have found there is joy for living. This is higher ground where I can see the splendor of all things prepared for me. Now there's a song and there is music, and my heart it longs to sing. It's a song of sweet salvation, Christ the Lord, my everything. He reached down to me, the King of heaven, from his throne to my world of pain and misery, to my side when I was all alone. He reached down to me, reaching out for his embrace. I touched the wonder of his love, I found his grace. Oh, there's a song and there is music, and my heart it longs to sing. It's a song of sweet salvation, Christ the Lord, my everything. He reached down to me, the King of heaven, from his throne to my world of pain and misery, to my side when I was all alone. He reached down to me, reaching out for his embrace. I touched the wonder of his love, I found his grace. And in moments when I sound and in times I'm feeling low,